Hello, everyone. Hello, one and all. My name is Merav Kahana Dagan. I am the CCOO of Mitvim Institute, and having analyzed what's happened and what is happening in Israel's foreign relations and foreign policy, in this next part of the conference, we'd like to focus on the near future, the next months or year, and to touch upon challenges and opportunities in those areas and those issues that we at Mitvim Institute find as key issues: climate, ethics, gender, the future of the Palestinian citizens of Israel and Israel's foreign policy, and of course, what has accompanied us from the beginning to end, the normalization agreements, the Abraham Accords look into the future. These issues will be brought to you as TED Talks, brief talks, and the first to speak will be member of Knesset Alon Tal from Kahol Lavan, formerly the head of public policy in Tel Aviv University and one of the founders of various environmental organizations. Alon, the floor is yours. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be with you, Mirav. Listen, in a week's time, the climate conference, COP26, will begin in Glasgow with 192 countries convening in order to discuss the necessary collaboration and necessary policy in order to save the planet, or at least prevent an existential anarchy that will completely change everyone's lives, certainly that of our children and grandchildren. And the question that's being asked, and I think that in this forum, certainly I am very happy that the climate issue is being included, is what is our role as Israel? Because if we will be truly honest with ourselves, the climate heritage of Israel in the international community is not is not something that we pride ourselves in. We have taken part in an ecological and urgent issue. And when all Western countries got on board, Israel said, no, we won't be there. Whoever was in the army remembers how we treated those who didn't get on board, and we don't want to be there. So I'm very happy that there are kind of signs of a change, and that the Israeli government has already passed some very important decisions about Israel's objectives in terms of minimizing emissions and various other issues. Is it enough? No, certainly not. If you follow us, and you've been following us for many years, I have a bit of a background, and I talk about climate and policy, and I've been given courses on the subject just to demonstrate. The state of Israel has said that by 2030 it will reach 30% renewable energy. In the United States, by 2035 they're going to be at 100%. We want to reduce our global greenhouse gas emissions by 75%. That is the government undertaking, which is more than zero, which was the past. But in the United States, they're already talking about 52%. So we started to kind of get on board, but there's still a long way to go. So I could talk about the empty half of the glass or the full half of the glass. But we're talking about regional policy. And I'd like to present an argument that if the state of Israel will be resourceful, and if we will continue to strengthen regional ties, we will be able to make use of the climate crisis in order to strengthen our relations both with the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan and the Palestinian Authority. I was among the founders of Echo Peace, that has offices in Tel Aviv, Amman, and Ramallah. We started with Egypt, but they're not there at present. It's been going on for the last 25 years. And we have promoted a plan that says that every country has to use its advantage or its edge to do two things. First of all, Jordan is perhaps suffering from a shortage of water. And it's people living in Amman, which is a capital, it's civilized, it's organized, they get water 8 hours a week. And if a family doesn't fill its tank on the roof, they won't have basic hygiene for a week. So this crisis is very, very severe there. And we know that Israel is a leader when it comes to desalination technologies. We have really undergone a true turnaround in the last 20 years. We used to suffer from drought. We used to feel like we didn't have enough water. And now we're one of the safest countries in terms of provision of water supply to a certain extent. The problem is that desalination requires a lot of energy. And if we truly want to be serious about the world's expectations, it means that we have within 9 years, cut greenhouse gas emissions by 50%. And we can't reduce the emissions while desalinating. So the idea was, let's take Jordan. They have 66 kilometers, at least 3 times more than Israel. And it's more a desolate desert because they have an ecosystem, but we can certainly have huge factories there for renewable energy and solar energy, and then import the green electricity from Jordan and to salinate water from the Mediterranean. The infrastructure is in place, and as an MK from Kahol Lavan, I don't usually compliment my friends from Likud, but Yuval Steinitz, Dr. Steinitz, did something that I think is very brave as the Minister of Energy when he established the opposite water pipeline. Instead of the Kinneret giving us water, the Mediterranean, it gets water from the Mediterranean. And so we can use this infrastructure as part of the peace accord with Jordan. It can be activated and we can really, really relieve the Jordanians' distress. And we all want stability there. So that's one example where the climate crisis is making the water crisis more severe in Jordan. We all know that rainfall has gone down in Jordan in the area, but that can be overcome with technology if we do collaborate. And I believe that this is just one example. We are now starting to think together with our friends and colleagues from the UAE about other things. But I want to warn you that not every collaboration with our neighbors is a partnership that is aligned with the climate principles. And I'm, of course, talking about the agreement between Red Med, which is supposed to provide at least 700 carriers of fuel. And together with many environmentalists, I feel that this is some kind of misrepresentation, because they said that if the agreement were to be cancelled, and this is the Eilat Ashkelon pipeline agreement, if they cancel this agreement, peace will collapse and Abraham Accords will collapse. And then we read an interview with our new ambassador that says that it's just a commercial agreement, has nothing to do with the government. So I just want to say this, I can give you many other examples when it comes to carbon footprint and so on. There's collaboration, but let's understand that a collaboration that has to do with perpetuating the old economy that is based on fossil fuels goes against history, goes against world consensus. And I'm very happy that next week the Prime Minister and the Ministry of Environmental Protection will get on a plane and present a new approach, a new perception. And there's a long way to go still. But once we said that by 2050, we want to reduce our greenhouse gas emissions, that's a huge step. And hopefully by then it will reach 100%. But even if it's just 85, like they said, if we don't want our children to really live in a very hot environment, then it's time to understand that the climate crisis is not just some gloomy, dark prophecy. It's something that we have to prepare for. And as a hotspot in Israel, we see the rising sea level. We will be impacted if we are not prepared. And I think that we will not be loyal to our objectives as a Zionist state that wants to preserve everything we have, or at least be a partner in an international effort against the climate. So I think that's been my 7 minutes. Unfortunately, I still have to go vote with our narrow coalition. I have to quickly run out and vote, but thank you very much for this opportunity. And I'm very happy with this conference. Thank you, Gil, and thank you, Merav.